Because the dilemma of accepting a body snatcher or facing the fact that my best friend is gone forever is the type of psychological warfare I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Because what? Appropriately titled Replacement, episode 1 of The Summer of Hikaru Died dives into grief, denial, and what it means to replace someone you've lost. So, if you're a fan of a little horror mixed in with emotional distress, this one is most definitely for you. And hi, I'm Tia, your bestie Bento, and I am breaking down episode 1, The Summer Hikaru Died, while highlighting some of the cultural themes and folklore that caught my eye. Plus, I have some questions, which I hope is answered sooner than later, so watch until the end and drop your theories in the comments. So, The Summer Hikaru Died takes place in a small town, and it gives off the vibe that mixes horror, slice of life, and a dash of mystery. So, the episode opens up mid crisis. There's a search party going through the mountains looking for the missing Hikaru. Now, we don't know what happened, but it's clear it is pretty tragic, and you can really feel Yoshiki's desperation as he's searching for his friend. Meanwhile, we see Hikaru laying on the ground, barely clinging to life, literally whispering Yoshiki's name one last time.
Yoshiki.
It's really intense.
6 months later.
So fast forward 6 months later, and Hikaru's back. So he's all laugh, casual vibes, but there's still this underlining tension that was rolled over from the previous scene. And personally, I like that. And I feel like it really set the stage for when Yoshiki asks Hikaru.
やっぱ惹かれちゃうやろ。
And it's crazy because Yoshiki just calls him out on it. Like, you my bestie, so I should just be able to say, what's on my mind. And honestly, I did not see his reaction just being so casual, just like, nah, I'm not him. But like the way he dropped his act for a second and just brought his friend in for a hug, talking about, I don't want to kill you. I love you. It's like sweet and super unsettling. Like, I mean, I guess that's nice, I guess, but like, okay. So now everyone's wondering, like, what now? And that is what episode 1 sets up. Yoshiki is caught up in an intense struggle. He doesn't want to lose Hikari all over again. Even though he doesn't fully understand what's happening, his grief mixes with a weird situation where, like, his friend is still technically there, but he's not. His home life is a mess. His parents are fighting. His sister is isolated in her room, and he's on some type of medication. I don't know what's going on about that. And while all of this is happening, he's still trying to be a good friend. He's walking to school, he's hanging out, but things are clearly weighing on him, like deeply, disturbingly so. And their entire friendship really had me thinking about how male intimacy is portrayed in Japanese anime. There's shows like Yuri on Ice and Banana Fish, and it's interesting because they don't always label these bonds as romantic, but the subtext is totally there. And the way these characters connect emotionally feels way more intense than just friendships. Even in the flashbacks, Hikaru is always teasing Yoshiki about girls or his feelings for him, and it really makes me wonder if Hikaru had some kind of love confession lined up in the woods before all the crazy stuff happened, of course. Now, I will say I appreciate the fact that this new Hikaru made it very clear that the old one is completely gone. And this new Hikaru described himself as a sick monster. And although he doesn't fully understand how he got into Hikaru's body, he does talk about wanting to experience life for the very first time. And he's really enjoying his time as Hikaru. But what I found really interesting is the fact that although Hikaru has his old memories, this new version of him does not have the lived experiences. So everything he does is kind of like a fresh start. And you can totally see this in excitement for life throughout the episode. For instance, in class, they're singing a song and Hikaru is just reading them, kind of like he's trying to wrap his head around the emotions that he never really felt. Or even when they're watching a movie, he has empathy for the women in the story. So he's crying, even though we've seen it 5 times. And just when we think everything is smooth and everything's going to work out, Hikaru reminds us that he is dangerous. And it was really this first time after his big reveal that I kind of felt this chill because his unpredictability is really unsettling. Now, we also learned that there's an organization that has been hunting down these monster creatures, whatever they are. So we get to see this really weird monster in the closet that's calling for his mother. It was really this scene that gave me the idea that perhaps these supernatural beings have an emotional connections to humans, which might explain why Hikaru has such an intense attraction or connection to Yoshiki. It's almost as if grief, love, and emotional vulnerability created some sort of a doorway between them. So, if you ever heard of yokai, which are typically demons that present themselves as human, in Japanese folklore, they often appear in smaller towns where spiritual rituals are tied into the local beliefs. And this idea is confirmed by Miss Matsura's reaction to Hikaru, which reinforces the notion that local superstition is believed in this town. But I will say that after watching this episode, I can't shake the feeling that we're being led to think that Hikaru is more evil than maybe he is. And honestly, I'm not convinced that he's the one who killed Miss Matsura. First of all, the killer's vibe was totally different. The character almost appeared to be like a jokester in a way, like in a twisted kind of way.
あれ留守なのかな
Not to mention the colors of the scene was different from what we were already used to seeing with Hikaru. So it makes me wonder if there's someone else that's out there that's pulling the strings. I also had a thought that maybe Yoshiki might be influenced by Hikaru as well. I don't think he's the killer, but there were most definitely moments where their thoughts and actions seem to eerily sync together. So I'm most definitely going to be watching more on that. But by the end of the episode, it is clear that there are a lot of people on edge. We got the takoyaki lady who reacted to Hikaru, and that was a little bit alarming. I really hope her and Mr. Kitty aren't next on the chopping block. Plus, we finally get confirmation that there was a ritual that happened, but maybe it didn't go as planned. And there are other people that are feeling like maybe they could be next. And we're also briefly introduced to a Mr. Takeda who calls that monster killer person at the end of the episode. So at least there's some sort of like connection there. There are just so many layers to unravel in this episode, and I am left with a ton of questions. So here are the main ones that are on my mind. One, are emotional connections what draw these monsters in? Did Hikaru hear Yoshiki's voice the night he passed away and trigger some sort of link? Two, what exactly is the Unuki sama and should we be worried about it? And three, what is the backstory of these other monsters? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop your theories in the comments, and if you're into it, give this video a like for more episode breakdown.